from a generality perspective, yeah. One thing is vaginal estrogen. Okay. If you are 35 plus, you should be on vaginal estrogen. Okay. Let me just say that. That's it. It is also the female Viagra. Okay. Nobody knows it. I don't know why it's the best kept secret on the market, but vaginal estrogen.
Step right up, folks. You're now entering It's a Circus, where parenting isn't always a show stopping act, but it's certainly entertaining. I'm your host, Elsa, here to prove that no one really knows what they're doing, and that's perfectly fine. Let's have some real conversations, peel back the layers, and remind you that you're never alone in the madness. Let's get the show rolling. Wow, I am so excited for this guest, Dr. Sarah. I have been just dying to get her on the podcast. This is someone I just find so inspiring on so many levels, and I think you'll listen in the interview. I literally, my mind is blown half the time, and then also her energy, her presence, her focus, her commitment to her work, her commitment to motherhood, her commitment to women is so inspiring and magnetic. It is hard not to walk away and feel absolutely inspired. So just to be in her energy for as long as we got her for was just incredible. And I know you'll find so much value from this incredible story of her journey through and in motherhood, as well as to where she is now and where her work has led her to today. I am thrilled to let you know that she is going to give us a little bit of a discount for all of you listeners to join her Next Level Women's Collective, which is where midlife women finally get real answers, a clear strategy, and supportive community that actually understands the science of your hormones, metabolism, brain, and longevity. So because you listen today, you do get a special discount to join this group. Your first month is free on us. So take a peek. All the details are in the show notes. Dr. Sarah is a regenerative and integrative medicine physician, former military doctor, and founder of Lesh Lifestyle and the Next Level Women's Collective. She's known for cutting through the noise on hormones, metabolism, longevity, and midlife health, giving women real answers in the medical system that's overwhelmed, outdated, and often dismissive. So her mission is to help women feel like themselves again, strong, sharp, energized, and in control, which is exactly what she is, through evidence-based medicine paired with real-world strategy. She helps high-achieving, exhausted women rebuild their metabolism, energy, mood, and confidence so that they can finally show up as the version of themselves they've been fighting to get back. Outside of medicine, she's a co-creator of Raising CEOs, a family-centered program that teaches kids how to think creatively, solve problems, start simple businesses, handle money, build confidence, and develop real-world leadership skills. It's hands-on fun and designed to help kids realize that they're not too young to build something meaningful. Dr. Sarah and her family are on a mission to raise the next generation of confident, capable, emotionally intelligent leaders, one small business idea at a time. Without further ado, I am thrilled to get into this episode. Here is Dr. Sarah. Dr. Sarah, thank you for being here and welcome to It's a Circus podcast.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I kick us off with this question all the time, but who are you a mom of? How long have you been a mom for? And have you always wanted to be a mother? I know.
Okay.
I go right for
I
it.
am yeah. Start going. I'm a mom of Charlie, who is 14 and she's a girl.
Love it.
Gunner, he's 10, about to be 11 in December. And then Kenzie, who is 7 and full of life.
Oh my gosh.
So I've been a mom for 14 years. Um, and I don't know if I always wanted to be a mom. Like I don't remember kind of like growing up and being like, I want to be a mom. I do know that like as a kid, I always played with baby. Like I wasn't a Barbie girl. I was more of like a baby doll girl. I had one that was like feels so real. It had like bones in it, or I don't know. I think it was metal with all this goo. And I had that till I was like a teenager. So I think I never not wanted to be a mom, right? But I didn't like I wasn't like, oh, that's a thing I wanted, always wanted in my life. But I'm happy it's in my life.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And I think that's such a real answer too. Um it's so funny because so many people have a wide range of how they answer it. It's either like a hard yes or a hard like no or a I don't know, life happened and so I'm here for it. It's wild, but I love to meet a fellow baby doll girl because that's how I was too. I had a ton of Barbies, but I was very into the baby dolls for a very long time.
Yes, me
Oh
too.
my
And my
gosh.
kids like Monster High.
Yeah.
Like, they like Barbie Monster High, like, not baby dolls.
I love
I
it.
literally spent $20,000 on American Girl dolls
Yeah.
for me to like them, and they did. And I was like, "Okay, guys, well, I guess I'm the only one in this playroom playing dolls by myself."
Okay, don't even get me started on American Girl dolls because literally, like, I feel like I am one and I like have lived all of their lives, all of their stories, collected them forever, and then ended up with boys. So, here, my like assignment to this world, I'm like, let's talk more about these American Girl dolls. You boys need to understand the trials and
Yeah,
tribulations.
there's boy dolls too now.
Is there? Okay, I
I
didn't even
even
know that.
I yeah, I even tried that with Gunner. I mean, I'm not kidding. They have, gaming things and boys, and they do all these things. No, that didn't work either. So, it was a big flop on all fronts. I just say here well, they came out with, I'm a sucker for the classic dolls, right?
Of
Like, I
course.
really like all the Felicities
Yes.
and the, Molly and, all the things.
Ooh,
But they came out with Courtney, who is, for all from the 1980s, right? So she has Care Bears and Strawberry Shortcake and, like, all the things. And so, like, my doll looks great. She's in her Care Bear, pajamas up on her stand, and then the rest of them are, like, written on, drawn on, hairs cut, and I'm like, "How dare you guys treat my American Girls like this? This is horrible." They don't
oh
care.
my, it's such a great era, man. Such a great era. Okay, well, let's get into it. So, um, 14 years. Now, in my world, I can't imagine 14, and I can't wait for that moment, but also can't even fathom that. 14 years that you have been a mother for. Was this was your first planned or was this a surprise?
Yeah, no, she was planned. Actually, shockingly, came, more than we thought or faster than we thought. So I was like, so I was in my first year of medical school, which, that's a real great time to have a baby, but, I was in for it. And I was like, "Oh, let's try this, blah blah blah." And we actually got pregnant the first month. So it was like, "Well, I guess we're doing this."
Yeah.
Like, here we go. Buckle up. Whoops.
Yeah. Okay, so talk us through this because I got a very bulleted version when you and I spoke, and I was like on the edge of my seat, like I need way more details than this. So I would love for you to kind of walk us through, if you could, um, your motherhood journey in conjunction with your career, because I think the two go really closely hand in hand. And I know a lot of our listeners benefit from hearing kind of how those two worlds come together to create the world that we create around us. So take us back there 14 years ago, if you can remember, and
Yeah.
tell us how that felt, with balancing school, pregnancy. How did that all come to be?
So with Charlie, it felt pretty great, honestly. Like,
Mhm.
initially, pregnancy was good. And I don't know, for some reason, like, looking back on it now, I should have been really scared, but I wasn't.
Innocence is
In the
bliss.
moment,
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't. I was just like, yeah, like, I can do all the things, like,
Mhm.
and I remember actually, you just made me think of this. The dean of my medical school, God bless her soul if she ever watches this, she literally said to me, "You know, you can't be a good mom and a good doctor." And I said, "Excuse me? What did you say?" And she was like, "You can't be a good mom and a good doctor." I said, "Okay, well, watch me." Okay? And I couldn't even believe that this woman, like, think about this. Like, you're a female doctor. You should be mentoring other female doctors. I'm already in, like, the hardest thing of my life. And then she literally said that to me. Like, you can't be a," and I was like, "Okay," and I remember, like, I'm really good when people challenge me, it's like, "Oh, okay, I can't do that? Okay, watch me." And so I was like, "Okay," and because I was actually the first of 3 girls in our med school that got pregnant, and, subsequently, like, they even had to make a lactation room for us in our med school, which they and it was great, but, I was the first one, and she said that to me, and I was like, "How dare you?" Right? And then I was like, "Okay, well, I got this, I don't know what you're talking about." So, my pregnancy was fine, and I gave birth to Charlie on August 4th, 2011, and it just so happened that that was the 3-week period of time that I had off between my 1st year of med school and my 2nd year of med school, okay? So, there's no such thing as maternity leave when you're in med school. Now, you could delay a year, right? Like, you could have taken that year off, but I was not going to do that. I was like, "She told me I couldn't do it, and so, like, I'm gonna do it." So, I literally gave birth on the 4th, and I was back in, school, I think on, like, the 21st or 22nd we started of August. So, right within the same month.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. That was, truly a whirlwind, I would say. I obviously didn't know that was coming, and all the things and all the feels, right, that come along with, like, just having a baby and, just how your body changes and everything is so crazy, and, that was really, really interesting. I'm very thankful to my husband, though, like, he worked the night shift, so I did a lot of pumping and this and that, and, like, he created this whole thing because there was some things I had to go into school for, and there was some, like, lectures and stuff you could watch at home. So we would kinda tag off, and we had this, like, wonderland downstairs, and I would listen. I had my notebooks and my highlighters, and I'd be breastfeeding, and I'd be doing that, and then when I had to go in, right, it's like, "Okay, we're going to a couple classes," then go in the room and pump and put the milk away and do all the things. But it was cool because Charlie was also, like, part of med school for me, right? Like,
Totally. There's
she
not
was
one
my
without the other. Yeah.
oh, she was like my baby. Like, everybody knew her and, like, and it was just like a thing. It was awesome, and then, because we got pregnant with Charlie pretty easy, I was like, "Oh, this is in the cake," like, we're like, "Okay, I think it's time to have another baby," and in medical school, your last year, if you do everything kind of right, your last year, you can have, like, essentially 6 months off before you start residency. So, of course, I did everything right, because I'm like, stack everything on top of each other, like, let's just get this done. And I didn't get pregnant. And I didn't get pregnant. And I didn't get pregnant. And I was like, what the heck? And I didn't get pregnant. And I had to take my boards. And, I don't know if anybody is a physician out there. Probably one of the most scary times is getting into a residency because it is cutthroat. When I say cutthroat, I mean cutthroat. And I'm a military doctor. I've been to war. I've never experienced anything as cutthroat as like getting into residency. And you're going around and you're traveling to all these places and you have like, 4 weeks to show them why they should pick you. And like, I was just trying to be the best that I could be. And it's so stressful. Well, I have a toddler, like she's running around doing her thing. Oh, and by the way, we lived in Michigan where my husband's mom lived, but none of my family lived there. So, it was very, that piece of it is like difficult. We had nannies, but like none of that worked out. Like, and not our schedule's erratic. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a 9 to 5 thing. It's like, oh, we need on this night, these witching hours, all this. So it was a lot. Didn't get pregnant, didn't get pregnant, didn't get pregnant. Clomid. Okay, this will work, right? We're doing ultrasound guided, blah, blah, blah. This will work, right? No, no, nothing, nothing. And like, what the heck? My poor husband, go give a sample. Like, maybe it's you, not me, right? Of course, he's perfectly fine. So of course it's me. And 3 rounds later, I'm like 4, I'm, like, really discouraged, and also, by the way, in between all of this, of course, is all of these other people getting pregnant. Now, some other girls that were like, I was, in med school with got pregnant, which is fine. But like people from my hometown that like I thought had no business being pregnant, right? Like, and so it felt as horrible as that sounds, and I feel like it does sound horrible, but I was like, "I'm doing everything
Yeah.
right," right? Like, I'm doing all the right things, like, why is this happening for her? Like, she doesn't even have a job, like, I know that's very selfish, but that's how I felt, like,
Those
sorry,
are real
that's how
feelings.
I felt.
Yep.
I was like, "Why does she get to be pregnant, and I'm over here, have a wonderful life for my kid and da 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 da, and like, why isn't this happening?" And to be honest with you, I've always worked hard my entire life, but that was the first time in my life that I didn't get something that I thought I deserved. The first time, there's been many since, but that I thought I deserved, that was like, I just felt so unfair. Like, it was like, why is this happening? So finally, I sat in the doctor's office, the reproductive endocrinologist, and he looked at me and he was like, "Listen," he was like, "If this cycle doesn't work," he's like, "we're gonna take, 5 or 6 months off, and we just need to reset your body, like continually to stimulate you with these meds and all this stuff. It's like you just need to, take a deep breath, basically." And of course I didn't want to hear that, number one. And remember, my plan was to have this baby before I started residency, right? I had 6 months off. Like, what a perfect time, right? I don't have to go back in 3 weeks. Like, this is wonderful. And when he said that to me, like, first I could cry right now just thinking about it, but I was like crushed. But I think that's actually why I got pregnant that time, because I conceded, right? I finally just said, "Okay,
Surrender.
this is
Mm-hmm.
happening right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna have to wait another 6 months, and I have no idea why this is, but it's not in my control." And I think I let my body relax for the first time in a very long time. I think all of that stress that I had put on myself, or I had from taking boards, from going to all these interviews and trying to get these top residency spots and trying to get pregnant. And anybody that struggled for infertility knows that every month that you don't get pregnant, that just piles up and it piles up and it's worse the next month. And I just kind of let all of that go. And I think that that's how I got pregnant, because I let everything go and my body did what it was supposed to do, and not such a high stress, cortisol driven environment. And I'll never forget, I probably should have owned stock in pregnancy tests, like, honestly. Between ovulation sticks and pregnancy tests, I'm sure we spent, tens of thousands of dollars in these products, and I probably should have owned stock. But one day, little Charlie and I went to the grocery store, we got some stuff, we came back, and I'm like, "Okay, like, and I always took pregnancy tests when the HCG was still in my system because they tested positive,
Right.
right? And so it's like, "Oh, it's positive," even though I knew that was fake. Like, it just was this, like, psych thing that worked for me. But it was, like, probably the first day that I could test, where I would have, it would have been true. And I remember I did it and I was like, "Whatever." And I literally within seconds, I just, like, threw it in the garbage can and walked out and started, like, unloading the groceries. And then, um something was like, "Go back in there." So I went back in and I looked at it, and the line, I mean, was so faint that I was like,
You're like, do I see it?
"Is
Do
that
I
what?"
not see it? Is it a trick thing? Yeah.
I'm like turning it in the light, and I'm like, "I don't know, I don't know." In my poor doctor's office, I had this wonderful nurse, she was amazing, but I called and I'm like, "I think it's positive. I think it give me blood. I need blood right now. I need blood work." And she's like, "Okay, Sarah, calm
Yeah.
down. Come in and get your blood drawn,"
Mm-hmm.
And so I did, and my freaking beta HCG was 25, okay? I was, like, this much pregnant,
Yeah.
and then, because I know all the things, I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, what if this is a phantom pregnancy,
Right.
and what if
Right.
I
Of
have a
course.
miscarriage?" And, all the things, right? And I was like, "Okay, stop the nonsense," like, and then so here I am taking pregnancy tests every 2 days, because your beta
Yeah.
increases every days, and here I am doing this crazy thing. So fast forward to, this is a legit pregnancy. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually pregnant. 12 weeks past. Okay, we have this. And 14 weeks, and guess what I do? Start residency. So, I don't know if anybody's ever been an intern, but being a pregnant intern is not
My
exactly ideal.
gosh.
Being a pregnant intern is not ideal. Here's the other kicker. My program director, I love him, Dr. Jansen. He is so amazing, but he was like a general, right? And he's not actually in the military, but he's very, very militant. And I was like, I know. And P.S. I'm the only girl in my residency class this year. I'm the only girl. So I'm like,
Yeah.
great. I was like, just great. Now, again, should we feel that way? Heck no. Would I feel that way today? No. But like back then I did. Okay. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is gonna be crazy, right? So we tell him and it's fine. And I'm in, I have my residents are all guys. So I tell them right away, and we're just meeting each other. And then tried to hide it for as long as I could. And I just wore oversized scrubs. And I will tell you this though, the nurses, because a lot of your intern year, you spend a lot of that in the ICU. That's just the way that it is. Long hours, on my feet all the time, which lots of women are, but I'm like usually gowned and gloved. I'm putting in central lines. I'm putting in hemodialysis catheters. I'm intubating patients. I'm doing all of these things. And those ICU nurses probably saved me because every time I would come out and, ungown, I'm like doused in sweat. They would have this huge big ice water for me. And they knew I loved lemon. So they'd always have like a lemon cupcake or something like for me. So I'd sit down, to like do my charting and eat my stuff, and just they were amazing. Um, and then of course I contracted, at 20 weeks, 21 weeks, 22 weeks because I'm chronically dehydrated. Like I can't even keep up. I'm working so much it's like not even funny. I'm an intern, and guess what? I refuse to be like, "Oh, that's the pregnant
Of course, of course,
intern."
of course, of course. So you're almost like overcompensating for everything. Yeah.
And not if it wasn't enough that like being a female
Right.
in a
Oh man.
male-dominated field with all the rest of my resident colleagues from my year were all male.
Mhm.
Like, I
Yeah.
already felt that, right? Now I feel this, like, bigger burden, which again, now I feel is so dumb.
Mhm.
It's like, who cares? But it felt that way, and it was like, I can't skip a beat. I can't, like, there can't be anything. I used to, like, sneak down to, like, labor and delivery and, like, go on the monitor just to make sure that I was okay, and then go back to my shift. So it was a whirlwind. It was just a whirlwind. It was crazy. And then the day that I went into labor with Gunner, so I couldn't have baby, like I couldn't get pregnant, but I could have babies like a champ. Like I was a like with Charlie, I went in at 5 a.m. and she was delivered at 11
Oh my
a.m. And
gosh.
like my first baby, my OB
Wow.
was like, I expected you, like, later tonight or tomorrow. I was like, "Well,
Yeah.
this girl, she just does it." But that night, I'll never forget this, that morning, Charlie was sick, she had a fever, so we took her to the pediatrician, and then I also had an OB appointment, and then I had a shift at 4 p.m. So we took her, of course, she tested positive for influenza A. So at my OB, he puts me on the stress test monitor, and he looked at me and he goes, "You are not making it to 39 weeks." And I was like, "Yes, I am. Like, I am. Like, I have to go to work tonight?" I'm like, "You dude, like, you know this, like, I'm an intern, like, I have to go to work." And he's like, "Okay, Sarah, like, I'll see you soon," and I was like, "Okay, buddy." Little did he know I'd be seeing him that
Oh
night, but,
man.
he puts me on, he's like, "You're contracting like crazy." I was like 2 centimeters. I was like, "I don't care, I got this. My kid is sick, like, I have to go to work from 4:30 to 1:30." I'm like, "I don't have time for you to tell me that I'm having this baby soon. Like, there's just no time for this right
Mm.
now." So he was like he looked at me like I can still see the look. He was like, "Okay, girl, I was like, "Okay." So I went to work and I was contracting like crazy. Like I will never forget this night. I remember standing in front of a room and I was like, and like sweat pouring off me. And there was such a kind Andy Franklin senior resident that was like, "Can you just go home?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." And be the intern that like left her shift to have a baby. No, I'm not going home," or left her shift because she was pregnant. I was like, "No, I'm not going home. I'm gonna finish this shift." And I did. I finished that shift at 1:30. I literally we had these zone phones, right? So I literally walked to my car and I was sobbing, and not because I was crying, but my body was physically
Yeah.
crying because I was in so much pain.
Right.
And I got to my car and I remember I couldn't even sit down. I was like, and then I saw this damn zone phone on the side of my scrub pocket, and I was like, "Come on." And I had to waddle my sorry little self back in, hand over the phone, waddle my sorry little self back out, sit in my car, cry because it hurt so bad. And I went home, and remember, I'd been contracting since 25 weeks. It was like, I don't know, is this real? Am I
Right.
dehydrated? Blah, blah, blah. And my husband was like, "Just take a bath and see what happens." And it's also 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And so I do that, and I'm like, "No, I think this is real." So we get his mom there to take care of Charlie, and we go to the hospital, which, by the way, is an hour away at this point because I had Charlie at this hospital when I was in medical school, and we moved for residency, which was an hour away. But I liked my OB, and I liked
Sure.
the experience, so I didn't
Yeah.
change. So we have to drive an hour. So we're driving, and I'm like, "Stop, stop, stop the car right now." He's like, "What?" And I was like, "I think the contraction stopped. I'm not going there to spend 36 hours. Like, we're not doing that." So he was like, "Okay, Sarah," my kind husband. He was like, "Let's just pull over to the side of the road. Let's walk a little bit. Let's see what happens." The second I started moving, here come the contractions again. I was like, "Okay, let's go." It gets better, okay? So we go and, you have to go into triage, right? And the monitor is actually tilted, so I can't see my contractions, but I can feel them. All of a sudden, here comes this resident and she runs in, and it just so happens that it's the one girl from med school that I didn't like.
My God, juicy. Okay.
Yeah. She's like, "Oh, hi." And I was like,
Mhm.
she's like, "I can go get the senior resident." And I was like, "Oh my God, like just my luck,
Mhm.
just my freaking luck that this is happening." So I'm like, whatever, whatever. And then like, "Well, you're contracting, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Yeah, I know all of this. Okay. Like, thank you." And then all of a sudden I had a late decel. So they're like, "Oh," they checked me and they're like, "You're 4 centimeters." I was like, "Well, I was two earlier
Right.
today."
Right.
So we go. And they're like, "Well, we'll watch you for an hour, and then I have a late decel." So I'm like, "Watch me for an hour." And PS, with Charlie, I went from 5 centimeters to 10 in a baby within 16 minutes.
My
So I was
gosh.
like, we should fart around with this. So I had a late decel. So then they're like, "Okay, let's go, have this baby." So, um, we go to have this baby and the CRNA comes up, gives me this epidural, and then after that, fine, okay, the nurse and I are talking, and she's like, "All right, let's have this baby. Like, you had your first baby, let's go, let's have this baby, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool, let's do it." So she's like, "Let me help you with your legs." And I'm like, "Oh, no, my legs are fine." And I'm like moving my legs around. And she was like, "Oh, like that's not even working." And I was like, "No, I don't think so." So he comes back in, never forget this. And I don't know if you had an epidural,
Did.
but they tap on it
Yep.
and they say, "Let us know, taste anything or anything." So, and I kind of remember looking at him from like my side eye. He tapped it, and all of a sudden I tasted metal and I couldn't see anything. Nothing. My internally for me, my whole world felt like this. Like, everything was just going, I'm screaming, I'm yelling, nobody can hear me. I can kind of hear them, and they're yelling my name. I hear them yell, "Call a code, call a rapid response." I hear all these things, and I'm yelling, "No, no, I don't want these dumb interns coming and intubating me," and, like, that's all I could think about, and I'm yelling, my body is yelling, and everything is moving. I can't see a damn thing. I just feel like everything is moving and going, and I'm like, "What the hell is happening?" And then I'm like, my baby, and I remember hearing the nurse yell, I mean, like, yell at me, "Sarah, Sarah, Sarah," and I'm yelling back, "What? What? What?" But nobody can hear me, and then all of a sudden, I was like, "Yes!" And she heard me, and then everything kinda, like, started to slow down, but my vision was actually the last thing that came back, and now I could hear everything, but I just couldn't see. And I'm like, my baby." And they're like, your baby's fine." And I heard my husband, and remember my husband's a nurse too.
Okay.
So he's freaking out, of course. And I remember hearing them being like, "Her blood pressure is 200 and call the rapid response," and this and that, and finally everything kinda, like, came back and I could see again, and I was like, "What the hell?" And then that was it. I was having the baby,
Right.
like, period.
Right.
Like, no thing. Here comes Gunner, like a whirlwind, and I was just like, "My baby better be okay." They're like, "There's no decel here." That felt like 30 minutes, but apparently it was like 3 and a half, the whole thing, but it felt really bad. And so here comes Gunner, like that's it. Like they're no anything. And I remember the nurse was like, "Well, you're gonna have to do this with nothing." And I was like, "Well, no kidding. Like,
Yeah.
here we
Yeah.
go." Thankfully, Gunner comes out and he's perfectly healthy and perfectly fine. And then nobody bothered um, to tell them that I was a doctor, which shouldn't matter, right? It really shouldn't. Everybody should be treated fine. But the anesthesiologist, and to me, this is very ballsy, had the balls to come into my room after this just happened to me and say, "Well, we heard you had a reaction to anesthesia." And I was like, "Excuse me? I didn't have a reaction to anesthesia. Your CRNA pulled my epidural into a space it shouldn't have been and basically bathed my brain with numbing medication. And I'm lucky that he just tapped it, right? Because if he put any more, they would have had to intubate me, take me to a C-section, let it wear off in my brain, and hopefully they would have my baby out on time. So don't come into my room like this was a typical like anesthesia reaction because it wasn't. And then as I'm saying this, she's like, "Are you in the medical field?" I'm like, "Yeah, maybe they should have told you I was a doctor, so you can't come in here with that BS because I don't hear it." And so, yeah, that was a whirlwind. Plus, remember, I have a febrile sick kid at home. So I have to kick my husband out to go home to take care of our kid. And I'm there by myself with my baby after this just happened. And also, like, I wasn't really the kind of person that like stayed in the hospital gown, like I had my own clothes, I had my own things.
Mhm.
He was born in December and it's in Michigan, so it was cold. So I am in my jeans and my shirt with my scarf, and they're like, "Oh," they come in, to check the baby, and they're like, "Oh, where's the mom?" And I'm like, "I'm the mom." And they're like, "You are?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, like, what do you think I was gonna sit around here and there, I got your diaper on, it's fine, you know?" You get those lovely underwear no one tells you about, but that's okay. Um, so then, we go home and Charlie then I have to, keep a newborn away from a sick toddler, which is also not easy,
No.
right?
So hard.
So yeah, and like, I'm making everybody chained. Oh my gosh, it was, like, just kind of a nightmare. Um, so I got 6 weeks off, but 3 weeks in, I had to go and take our yearly exams that we take. So every year in residency, you have to take an exam, because they have to know the right things or whatever. So there's no, like, rescheduling this thing, right? So I have to go in, I have to sit for this exam and take it. So of course I do fine, come back home. And then my first rotation back was OB. So it was actually kind of nice because they kind of get it. There was a pumping room and I got to put, Gunner's picture up and, I'm pumping and all the things. And then CJ, when I was on the night shift, he would come to the hospital. I would run outside. I would spray myself down. I would get in the car, get him out, throw it up, breastfeed him on both sides, pat him on the back, put him back in the car. They would take off and I would go back to the hospital.
My
Not to say the least.
gosh.
Yeah, but it was. And so that was midway through my first year, my intern year, which is like, the craziest year. And I would like to say I'm very proud of myself for this. Despite having a baby in intern year, I actually got voted by fellow residents as intern of the year. Which meant a lot to me because it was my fellow residents, it's not just like attendings
Right.
who votes for this. And so I wanted to just say that like all my hard work didn't go unnoticed, right? And all of those things. So that made me very happy. But needless to say, when it was time to want a third baby, I was not doing that again. It was like, No, we're not doing this again. So we had actually, because Gunner, with all the issues with Gunner and stuff, getting pregnant, we had actually already looked into adoption once. And so we made the decision, like we wanted a third baby. I was not doing meds and all that. I'm not doing that again. I'm not I almost died. I'm not doing that again. Like I don't want to do it. So we made the decision to do an adoption. Um, Understanding that that could come with its own issues, right? And its own things, and I may not have to be pregnant and do these things, but there's all this other stuff. So, we looked at, like, the foster system way, and we looked at, doing a domestic adoption. We chose to do a domestic adoption. So in August of my senior year, and I was the chief resident, so, when I do things, I just do them. It's kinda like, just do it, it's whatever. That's when we decide that we're gonna adopt baby number 3. So, here we go. Um, so in August 1st, our profile went live, online, and we were actually chosen, by birth parents in November, to have for a baby that was gonna be born in February. So, all said and done, it was like a 7-month process. Like, I couldn't have actually even had a baby, um, in
Wow.
that time.
Yeah.
So, that was pretty awesome, and Kenzie's story is amazing because, number 1, she is I don't know if anyone or any of your listeners have adopted babies, but, um, it's interesting, especially when you already have children. So, um, I didn't know if I was capable of loving her as much as I love my kids, and I know that sounds horrible, but it's a true feeling, right? It's like I birthed these kids, the good, the bad, all the things, like, am I gonna be able to love this kid as much as I love them? And that really was a concern for me. I was like, of course I love kids, right? Like that's different than like loving your child, right?
Yes.
And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to love her, as much as them. And Kenzie's birth parents were actually together. They were young, they were together. They picked us in November. We actually spent Christmas with them. We were actually in the room when Kenzie was
Wow.
born, thankfully, both me and my husband, we were there. Again, crazy story, right? Like, here I am, I'm working the night before. I actually had been fighting with the birth mom, of course, didn't have insurance, so she was going to a resident clinic. The residents were crap turds, and she was past due, but they wouldn't induce her, it's just all this, like, really crazy crap. So that night, actually, I'm on shift at the hospital. I called the attending now, Kenzie was born even though I live in Florida now, we lived in Michigan then, and Kenzie was actually born in Jacksonville. So that night, I called the attending OB on. I was so pissed because she had this appointment and they were just dicking around, and it's like, I was actually worried about Kenzie's safety because she was
Sure.
so past
Yeah.
so ridiculous, and they just weren't treating her well, like,
Mhm.
it was not nice.
Mm.
So, I called the attending on call, and I actually had him paged to my hospital because I was working, and so I answer the phone, and he answers, and he's like, hello, it's Doctor Jones." I'm like, "Oh, hi, it's Doctor Jones," right? And we're, like, kinda laugh, and I told a little lie. I said I was her
Uh-huh.
sister, but we'll just forget about that for now, and I was, "What is going on with your residents?"
Mhm.
I, like, get
Mhm.
fearful.
Mhm.
This is ridiculous, she's overdue, all this I had more things to say, and I said them. And by the time I hung up the phone, I couldn't even have called the birth mom fast enough. He already had the nurse in labor and delivery call her to bring her in for induction that night. Here's another kicker. I'm at work until 1:30 in the morning. I'm on shift. So my husband and I have to get plane tickets, right? Like right now, we have to leave that next morning because they're inducing her at 8 PM. So I didn't sleep because I went home from my shift at 2. Our flight was at 6:30. We flew into Orlando and then drove to Jacksonville because that was like the easiest flight we could get. Oh, here's another kicker. I was gonna breastfeed this baby.
What?
Okay.
Oh my god, okay, tell us everything, Sarah.
So I breastfed Gunner till he was 2.5 until my husband, like, made me
Okay.
stop.
I love this.
He
Yep.
actually thought it was my last baby. So,
Yeah.
I was doing the things. And then when we realized we were gonna adopt, I went all out. talk about breast milk cookies and all, pumping like crazy. I ordered meds from, from Canada that you can't get here for
Mhm.
breastfeeding and getting all this breast milk, getting all this breast milk. So when we flew to her birth, we had brought all this breast milk. We had to get dry ice. Oh man, this was an adventure. We had to get dry ice. We brought it on the plane. Then we get there and we have to thank God the NICU let us put all of our breast milk in their freezer. So we put all of this breast I'm like, "I have all this breast milk." So they let us put all of the breast milk in the freezer, thank God. And so then we're there, right? We're like, "Okay, we're having this baby, like, we're in the room." It's really a cool dynamic, like, the birth mom was there, the birth dad, and the birth mom's best friend. So she felt really supported, and then my husband and I were there. And, I don't know if you could tell by me or our interactions, but I'm not shy by any means, right? And also, ever since they picked us, every interaction that we had with them, I referred to Kenzie as our child, right? Because she is our child,
Right.
right? And so I started that off like our child, our daughter, all the things. Um, and so in that room, it was like really surreal because it was like I'm watching this person give birth to this baby that's going to be mine, and Kenzie was coming right from birth canal to me, like skin to skin, just like
Yes.
normal.
Yes.
And it was I would first off, I have to say how blessed we are to have been able to be in the room because not everybody is. And now I could just cry because the selflessness of this teenage mom. I mean, I don't even know if I could do that. Like, she was so selfless. Like, she gave her child the best gift she could, um, and to allow us as parents, her parents, to be in the room and experience this was just unbelievable. And it was unbelievably selfless on her part, and I couldn't ever thank her more for that. Um, and Kenzie was born, of course, again, now I can be mad because, she's past due, right? She's intrauterine growth retardation. She's small because her birth mom was small. She's a teenager, you know? And so she's born and she's got transient tachypnea of the newborn, she's breathing really fast. And the pediatric resident was like, "Okay, we're gonna take her to the NICU and we'll come get you in 15 minutes." I said, "Oh, like hell you
Yeah.
will." I was like, "I'm
Of
coming with
course.
you."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, well," I was like, "I'm a doctor. I've seen IV, like,
Right.
I'm coming with."
Yep.
So they let me. I came. The NICU nurses were nice. They hooked her all up to everything. Everything was great.
Mhm.
Like, she was fine. Everything was good. And then the first, like, moment of, like, "Oh, crap," where the birth mom and birth dad called my husband. I sent him back to the hotel, to get all the breast milk because the part that I kinda skipped a little bit was at midnight. I was like, "I cannot do this anymore." I'm like, "If you are still 2 centimeters at the midnight check, I have got to go to a hotel and sleep."
Yeah.
And of course she was. So we left. We had to take the breast milk with us, and thank gosh the hotel we found let us use their freezer, but we weren't even at the hotel for 30 minutes, and they called, and they're like, "Okay, she's 10 centimeters and ready to push." And I'm like,
Okay.
so then I'm like, "Okay, great, now we're gonna miss it," right?
Yeah.
Like, after all, now we're gonna miss it. So we get back there. Oh, by the way, it's in Jacksonville, which is, like, not the greatest, like, place, and there was a murder in the parking lot of the hospital.
Oh my
Okay?
god.
So now we're going through all the security and I'm really mad, right? Because I'm like, if we miss it after all this. Anyway, thankfully we got there. It was fine. Like, we still had a couple hours. Actually, it was fine because she didn't want to push, all these things. Okay, fine. So we were there, then this happens. Then they call and the birth parents wanna come to the NICU. Well, it's February, so, like, only 2 people are allowed in, you have to scrub in, right? Because we don't want any sick babies. And I looked at the nurse, and she looked at me, and she saw my face, which was just, like, pure fright, I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
And she was like, "It's okay." She was like, "You're a doctor, just stay here and, like, tell them what's happening, like, I won't kick you out," And I was like, "Oh, thank God."
Mhm.
So, they got to see Kenzie and we're talking
Mhm.
about everything, the nurse was so great. She was like, "Okay." She's like, "All right, mom," talking to me. She's like, we got a couple more things we gotta do, and then we'll bring her to your room." So we had 2 rooms in labor and delivery, or mom and baby now. They had a room and, the birth mom was recovering, and then we had our own room with Kenzie. So, also, they found she had a hole in her heart, all these things, so she's getting all worked up. Little baby's getting all worked up for all these things. And then the birth mom's there. So they came and, like, had dinner with us, and she didn't really stay in the room too much when Kenzie was in the room, right? Yeah, I could tell she was trying not to, like, bond, and,
Yep.
but the birth dad was staying in the room, and, like, it was very interesting 24 hours, let me tell you. And then in Florida, the law is that if it's a vaginal birth and the birth mom is not on any pain medications or narcotics, that she can sign at 24 hours. So, picture this, okay? 24 hours later, it was 4:30, no, 4 o'clock. I'll never forget it. They came and they actually had to take Kenzie, because those are the rules, because if they change their mind, they don't wanna have to come back in and get her from me and my husband. So you can only imagine what I'm going feel like, right? So that, like, I haven't been separated from this girl. I was breastfeeding her, for F's sake. We had
Right.
a lactation consultant. Like, I was like, "Okay." So my husband looked at me and he's like, "It's okay." He's like, "Listen, I already have it all planned out. I have the route planned out of the hospital. We're gonna get in the car. We're gonna drive to Orlando. We're gonna go to Universal Harry Potter. We're gonna get drunk and we're gonna get back on a plane and go to our kids if this doesn't work out." And I'm like, "Okay." So I was kind of okay for 30 minutes, right? So the clock strikes 4:30 and I was like, I'm pacing this room, and by the way, the room was like this big. I'm pacing this room, I'm taking the pillow, I'm screaming into it, right? I'm like, "Oh my god, they're gonna take our baby back," like, all these things. God bless this lady's soul, and the birth mom texts me, and she says, "Sarah, I know you're freaking out right now." She's like, "But I have to sign 10 of every paper." And she's like, "So don't freak out. It's okay. Like, it's okay." And I was like, "Oh my god, like, bless you. Like, you are just like a little godsend." So they bring Kenzie back. Kenzie slept through the whole thing. She's perfectly fine. And then they stayed in the room for a little bit, and I could tell that the birth mom really wanted to go, and the birth dad didn't really, right? And so there was this whole thing, and finally she's like, "I wanna go home." So he put her in the wheelchair. I will never forget this. I can actually see it as we're talking. And when they wheeled her out and turned the corner, I cried for 3 hours straight. And I actually cried so much that I called the adoption agency, and I was like, "What is wrong with me?" And the lady was like, "Listen, Sarah, nobody does this like you for the most part." They're like, "Most people, you actually formed a relationship with this young lady, like you were part of everything, like you are, She's like, "Most people don't do that. Like they know them, they talk, 'Oh, you're gonna give me your baby. Okay, great.' And that's it." She's like, "You formed a relationship with her. She trusts you, like you are mentoring her, blah, blah, blah." She's like, "You're gonna have to grieve that too." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." So we spent, you have to stay in the area for so long before this judge gives you the temporary injunction to take the baby out. And it's like, it's all the legal things, right? So we actually left Jacksonville and went to, Orlando, and then my mom flew down with Gunner and Charlie, so they could meet their sister, but guess what? I have to go back to work. I'm the chief resident, like, I have things I have to do. So I had to leave. Charlie was the only one in school at the time, so Charlie and I flew back, and I basically was a single mom of Charlie for a little bit until my mom stayed with my husband and Gunner and Kenzie. And thank God we had all that breast milk,
I
right?
was
So
gonna
they're
say,
able to
yep.
feed, and, then we put them on a first class flight because we have a 7-day-old, So here's my little 7-day-old. I tell Kenzie her first plane ride, she was on first class. I was like, "Don't feed her before. Do not open that,
Mhm.
put everything, open it. Do not let anybody look, sneeze, anything on her." And so they flew home. Um, and then we had to deal with all of the, like, legality, right? And then she, was adopted and became our kid. But there you go. That's 14 years and 3 babies.
Holy cow. Dr. Sarah, my mind is blown up. I, like, can't even like, that is, like, such an adventure and such an intensity. I can't even imagine going through something like all of that, but I want to touch on a few things because, whoa, for you and postpartum and thinking about like, and then nursing Kenzie, holy cow. How do you plan for that? How did you plan for that? What was postpartum like? Because I think when you're a new mom, uh, you can hear about it. You can know from friends. You can potentially, in your experience, maybe know like some medical stuff behind it. But I think going through what postpartum is in general is always like wild. And you were working. So tell us about that. What was that like after your kiddos? And
So
how do you plan for all of that?
I think postpartum for Gunner was probably the hardest
Okay.
for me. And even, because Charlie, even though I was in med school, like I was still in school,
Right.
right? So there was still a little bit of, even though I was going and doing and like I didn't have a break,
Mhm.
it wasn't the like demands of like being a doctor, a hospital life. Like I had to, I mean, as an intern, like you don't know anything, but you're supposed to know stuff. You know what I mean? Like there was a whole dynamic. And not to mention the fact that, like, I'm breastfeeding and I'm pumping all while I have to keep up with my male colleagues, right? So I would literally we had an intern, office, I in the hospital. I would literally be pumping while writing notes, and they're in the room. And I remember one of my colleagues, he would be like, "Oh my gosh, you're, like, pumping again." And I'm like, "I don't care. Like, this is life, man. I'm pumping. I'm a doctor. I'm a mom. Like, this is how this is. Like, you're just gonna have to get over it." And I used to make a joke that like I'm calling consultants, like, "Oh, hey, blah 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 about this patient," and I'm sure they're like, "Doo, doo, 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 doo. What the hell is this doing?" But for that, it was kind of a whirlwind,
Yeah.
postpartumly for Gunner because I couldn't skip a beat, and I think I could have, right? But
Mhm.
I think the pressure that it's kind of crappy saying this now, but, like, the pressure, which was one of the reasons why it was very difficult for me to get pregnant, only intensified when I was postpartum, right? For him, because
Yeah.
now I have a baby and now I have to keep up and I'm bleeding and my hormones are crazy. And like being an intern on top of that is already all of those things, right? Like you're trying to learn and you're trying to do, and you're the lowest man on the totem pole and people are dying and like you're supposed to do all this. Now add the fact that I'm bleeding and my boobs hurt and, like, I'm in the middle of, trauma resuscitation and my boobs are out to here because I need to go pump, but I haven't been able to pump because it's been so freaking busy, and alls I can think about I have to save this person's life, but alls I can think about is my boobs are gonna explode, right? And then I'm like, "Oh my god, my boobs are gonna explode. Oh my god, I'm away from my baby," and, like, I'm saving this person's life, but, like, I wanna be home with my baby, I don't wanna even be here, and, I think that was the hardest for me, is really juggling all of the things and all of the feels and almost guilt in a way, right? Like, I felt guilty not being home with my kid, but then I also felt so much pressure at work to perform and to, it doesn't matter, right? Like, it doesn't matter that my male colleagues didn't just have a baby, like, I still have to be better. I still have to do more, and, I think that was really tough, and honestly, now I work with residents, right? And I teach residents, and now I say, like, that is so silly. Like, that was so stupid. Like, women, we are like superheroes. And those things we should be given the time, right? We should be given 12 weeks off,
Yeah.
right? I should have been able to be home with my baby for 12 weeks and not had to worry about, oh my gosh, am I going to have to make up this time? What are my colleagues
Right.
doing? What's going? And I think that happens in a lot of professional
Yes.
women's lives, right?
Yes.
Like, I know some of my friends who are lawyers,
Mhm.
right? Or like, gosh, a business owner,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
then you're like, when you're there, you're not there, but like, "Oh, are my colleagues that I started with making partner before me?" Or
Mhm.
whatever, like, just all of the things where motherhood shouldn't feel like it sets us back.
Mhm.
It should feel like it compels us and makes us stronger, which it does, but for me, that postpartum period was so tough because I just felt, like, alone almost,
Mhm.
um on an island, right? Because like there was no one else doing it also. There was no other pregnant interns, and the
My
only other pregnant
gosh.
like
Sarah.
for OB residents, which was kind of like a little bit different because they were like OB.
Right.
And so we're like alone on this island. And I was also the only resident, like I was the only girl in my residency, and then I was the only resident that had kids anyway. Like I had Charlie, right? And so um, I don't wanna say it made me an outcast, it just made my life very different from the life that the other residents were
Right.
living, which kind of in a way, like, made me, like, a little bit of an outcast. And then even being, like, the senior resident and having an adoption, even though my body wasn't going through the, like, pregnancy thing, I still went through those rip-roaring emotions of, like, being a new mom, right, and not having enough sleep, but also dealing with different factors that when you're a mom to an adopted child, you don't realize, and I do wanna say this, I was concerned that, I didn't know if I could love Kenzie enough. I watched that child be born from someone else, and the second that she was in my arms, she was my kid, and there was no turning back.
Yeah.
And none. I mean, not a second, not a day. Most of the time, I forget that she's adopted, to be honest with
I'm
you.
sure.
There's no
Yeah.
"Wait, she's adopted? Oh, yeah, she is," right?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing all of that, and thank you for circling back to Kenzie, because that was gonna be my next question is that, and also, I mean, outside of that, you're also bringing, like, a 3rd kid. So, like, how was that integration, 1, for you and work at that time, and then 2, for your family to be a family of 5 versus a family of 4?
Well, I think that tips the
Yep.
bar. Like, everyone says, you're officially, like, outnumbered
Mhm.
in all the things that you, like, "Okay, we're going here, right?
Yeah.
And, okay, we're going to do this event. Okay, alright, honey, you have Gunner, I have Charlie," right?
Mhm.
And now we're officially tipped over the edge. Now we have Kenzie, and now you have 3, and I feel like the kids did good, but they were so little, like, they didn't really even Charlie may have known what was happening, but Gunnar certainly didn't. He's like, "What the heck is this thing, baby?"
Yeah.
Just like the typical thing. But for me, everything, from a strategic level, everything changed, right? We had to get a different car, right? And it was like in the house that we were in, we were leaving because that was my senior year, but we didn't have another room for a baby. So it was like, well, she's got to stay in our room anyways, right? So it's like so Kenzie didn't even have a nursery initially until we had our new house in New York. But then we were also moving to New York from Michigan because I was graduating as a resident, I was graduating into being attending. And so Kenzie was definitely the missing piece in our family. She made our family complete, but that was a completely chaotic and like hectic time. And there's always the back part of your mind of like, not that they can legally take her back, right? Because they can't, but like, what if they showed up at our door? Like, it's very different worries that you have adopting a baby than the things that you worry about with your own kids. And then like my mom guilt or not guilt, but my mom sense, even though I didn't go through labor and delivery and all through all those emotions, I felt very much like I did. And I think that's probably from the stress and the stuff of it, but, like, I was worrying about different things, right? Instead of the, "Oh, I'm up, I'm down crying," I was like, "Oh my god, what if they show up at our door?" Or, like, "What if when she's 10, she hates me and she wants to go live with them?" And, I still had that, like, fluctuating emotion of, like, being a new mom, but it was just, like, in a very different way.
Yeah.
And then balancing that with, like, I'm the chief resident. Now, like, it wasn't like having Gunner where I was expected to know this. Now it was like, "Oh, I'm the expert, and I need to manage all the rest of these residents, and I have to do, like, do this," and all the added things of, like, being the chief resident, on top of the fact that, like, I'm gonna be an attending in a month, and, now you have to be the big doctor and know everything, and that is scary in and of itself, and now we're moving to a different state, right? And, like, all the things. So it was crazy, and I think we just planned the best we could. If I could say anything, it's even if you plan everything and you think it's perfect, that's not gonna happen, right? Like, you can't ever plan for anything. Um I think we just did the best we could. We were just like, "Okay, well, We're gonna do this. And the biggest thing I probably planned with Kenzie was breastfeeding because I was like, "Oh, I want her to have breast milk." Like, it was like one of my like missions in life. And so that was like probably the only thing I really like strategically planned. Everything else is kind of like, well, here we go. Now we're a family 5. We need a new car. Okay, we need this. Okay, we need this. And just trying to like get through it day by day, I think.
Oh my God. Okay. Incredible. Amazing. I do want to touch on the breast milk thing because I think that is so huge. And for so many people, it is such a huge topic of bringing, a baby. Tell me how you planned. Okay. So, one, you breastfed Gunner till like 2.5. Was that intentional knowing that you were going to adopt, or was this something that like came into your mind as you were getting into the adoption process? And how long
So
did you
first
breastfeed Kenzie for?
Okay, I'll tell you the whole
Thank you.
thing. So Charlie got breastfed by me until 6 months
Okay.
because then one day she literally, like, looked up and, like, would not latch ever again. So I was, like, a little bit
Whoa.
devastated,
Yeah.
right? Like, "Yeah, okay, girl, like, I see how you're gonna
Yeah.
be." So I wanted to breastfeed all my kids or give them breast milk, let me say that. Give them breast milk till they were 12 months,
Okay.
right? Until
Yep.
I could so I had to pump a lot for Charlie, and I did supplement too.
Hmm.
Um so she got 12 months. Gunner, I thought he was my last kid, right? So I was going no holds bar. And Gunner and I, we just meshed. Like where Charlie kind of gave up on me. Gunner and I, like, we just worked, right? Like, ooh, okay. So I didn't. CJ was like, my husband, he's very nice. So nobody be mad at him for this. But he was like, you can breastfeed till they're 2, but that's it. I don't want these kids walking around, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, whatever. But then we decided that we were gonna try to adopt, and I it was very important for me for me to at least attempt this, and then if I wasn't able to, then for Kenzie to be able to have breast milk, even if it wasn't mine, right? Like just to have breast milk for 12 months, that was what was important to me. So I continued to breastfeed Gunner, but Gunnar and I were in sequence, right? So it was like I didn't get that like engorgement craziness anymore because we were just in sequence. He would breastfeed to go to sleep or whenever, and it was that. So that's why I had to start supplementing and pumping because I was trying to train my body like I was pregnant, right? And to try to make that. So I pumped like crazy. And then I was able to get Kenzie to latch. That really was only about a month and a half. I just wasn't, again, I don't have all the hormones like you do when you're postpartum. So I was not able to like just get that. So we used up all of my breast milk that I had. And then we actually had a donor
Nice.
who was a physician also. She was a pediatrician and she was a freaking cow. God bless her soul. I was never a cow. It just kind of worked.
Yeah.
But this woman, I would go to her house every week with my cooler. Okay, to pick it up. And then when I talk about freezers just full of breast milk, and of course, we had it all, it was all tested, right? She was also donating it to the NICU. So
Mhm.
it's tested for everything. Don't buy, breast milk off the black market. Um, but I would go there and she would give me the breast milk. So Kenzie got to be had breast milk until we moved at 8 months.
Wow.
So, and I never found one in New York because I was like, okay, we're so close.
Yeah, yeah.
But she was given breast milk until then. So that was important to me.
See.
And not that breastfeeding is the end all be all, right? Like
Right.
I
Yep.
know a lot of pressure comes on women for breastfeeding and it really shouldn't. Like bottle fed babies are just as fine and smart and healthy. I just wanted them to have some sort of breast milk for that period of time. And that's why I went that route. And she got supplemented too, right? Like this lady couldn't give me all her breast
Yeah.
milk, right? And it's different than with Gunner when like we're in that flow,
Right.
like Gunner and I were like in that flow. And he's just my chill kid. And he was the one, like 3 a.m. Be like, "Okay, Gunner," he's feeding, goes back to sleep, and we just, like, fall asleep on the couch till I have to get up at 6.
Right. Oh my
So,
gosh. Okay, amazing. That is so incredible and such a feat. And just, I mean, everything, Sarah, is just so incredible. So thank you for sharing all of that. I want to talk about military. So, how does that work into your career now? And I also want you to talk about what you do now too, and how you've transitioned into this phase professionally.
Okay. So currently I can retire next year, so yay for me. I wish it was sooner. But I have to do 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year, although that's not really true because I have a very big job in the military still. I am the physician in charge of all of advanced trauma life support for all of naval medicine. And so I'm constantly having to do things and integrate, I'm ready to retire. I've served my, 24 years next year. I had a little bit of time when I got out, my don't know my whole life story, but I had a little bit of time when I got off of my first time of active duty into being commissioned. And so those years have to be made up. So that's actually what I'm in right now. I'm in my last year of making those up. So instead of having 20, you have to have 20 good years. So when I hit 24, those will be my 20 good years, because of that little lapse in time. So I'm still doing that. And my my practice right now is amazing. It's the first time in my entire career I've worked really hard to become a physician, I've always loved patients and to be passionate and caring. And this is the first time in my entire career that I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Corporate medicine just wasn't for me. I didn't want to be told how to treat patients when, oh, you need to see more with less and you need to do all these things. So I ventured out into the private practice world, which is so scary, and crazy, and really made it my mission in life to um, give medicine a different feel, give medicine the feel that it used to have, right? Where I think of the way that I want to be a doctor, I think of back in, or if anybody watches the Hallmark channel, back in those little small towns where the doctor
Yes.
knew you and your family and your
Yep.
kids and your mom.
Mhm.
Like, we don't live town, right? But that's what I really try to make in my practice. It's where you are calm, you are heard, you are not another patient, you are who you are. And I get to walk in your journey with you and share that with you if you allow me. And that is so transformational for me. And guess what? As a mom, right? Because I get to show and teach my kids that, you know what, sometimes we don't get it right. And sometimes we got to make tough and scary decisions. But you're better for it. And so I've created an office and a space where I enjoy coming to. I love my patients. I hope they like me. But I've created a space in medicine that feels so good to me.
I love that. Tell us more about it.
So I own Lesh Lifestyle. So we're an integrative medicine practice. And really the way that I practice medicine is precision guided. So what works for you isn't going to work for your friend, isn't going to work for the influencer downline, right? And we look at the whole person. So what is going on with you? What are the things that pertain to you? I like to tell people that, if let's just say you're a marketer, right? And you're trying to come and I'm like, okay, I want to hire you to market Lesh Lifestyle for me. And you're like, okay. And we do these things and we do these things and we do all these things, right? Um, you still have to market my business through how I see it and how I want my business to be. And I feel the exact same way as a physician. I am your consultant,
Right.
right? So, yes, I've gone to millions of years of school. I read all of the literature. I go to all of the conferences. Trust me, you will not find a doctor more up to date on things than me. I can promise you that. I am in the know of everything because I want to bring that to my patients, right? I want you to feel comfortable with me. I want you to know that I have your back and that I am going to know the stuff and the research, but guess what? I still have to give you health, longevity, and health span through your eyes and what you think is important and what you see your life as. And that to me is the most valuable part of what I'm able to do with my clients. Some people come and they're a complete mess, and we're starting from this little thing. And as I see them grow, over the course of 8 months, 9 months. Just so you know, there's no quick fix in life. There is none. Doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in medicine. But as I see them, grow, and I have a box of tissues in my office for a reason, and it's because most of my clients end up in tears at some point, and I'm not a psychiatrist, okay? I'm not a psychiatrist, but, I really where my goal is to create long-lasting relationships and to create a medical space where you feel heard, like, you are not afraid to come in and tell me anything, even if you know I don't wanna hear it, right? You're like,
Right.
"Okay, I've been doing that when I told you not to," or whatever, right? But long gone are the days for me that, like, you go into the doctor, they tell you what to do, and that's it, right? No 7-minute visits, no this. It's like, "Hey, these are all the things we could do. This is why I suggest we do this and this and this first. But if you're not comfortable with that, we can do this and this, but this will be the outcome." Right? And we can add that on later, or we can do this, or we can do that. It's a partnership. And I feel like traditional medicine is missing that. And it's broke for a lot of reasons, right? It's insurance driven, and it's like we only got 10 minutes, and and that's for a lot of reasons. It's not mostly bad doctors, although there are some, but it's a broken system. And I just don't want that. I don't wanna operate that for myself. I don't want that for my patients. And I, as a doctor, I've worked my butt off to be here. I deserve to feel fulfilled, and I deserve to have relationships with my patients that are valuable and not rushed in that. And they deserve that too, obviously.
Love that. So when people come to see you, are they coming to see you for like, is it like perimenopausal women? Is it men? Is it joint pain? Is it longevity concerns? What is like
All of
all of the above? Yeah.
all of the Our youngest patient today is 8, and our
Wow.
oldest patient is 93.
Wow.
And it's a mixture of men and women. And I love women. Women are, my niche and I don't wanna say my favorite because I love the men too.
Yeah.
But women obviously are gaslit in the traditional medical system. We're just told I have a lot of perimenopausal and menopausal women, and they're just kind of said, here's your antidepressant, here's your anti-anxiety medicine, drink some wine, relax, you're a busy mom. Men don't get told that, right? Like, you don't go in and say, I don't feel like having sex, I don't feel like myself. They get a whole workup and they get testosterone. Women get a pat on the back, and here's your SSRI. So I love women and all ages and frames. I deal with a lot of women in their 20s who have PMDD, or PCOS. And I have teens, right? I'm dealing with a lot of teen girls, a lot of teen boys. And what makes my practice different is I do health optimization. So even though I see a lot of perimenopausal and menopausal women, yes, we do some hormone therapy. That's a tool in the toolbox. But what I really try to focus on is health optimization and longevity and health span, right? So there's lifespan and there's health span. Lifespan is how long you live, health span is how long you live well. And I'm trying to impact as many people as possible. And I'm trying to make you live as long as you can, as healthy as you can. I don't know about you, but like, I don't care to live to 90 if I'm demented in a nursing home, peeing on myself with a UTI and a broken hip.
Ugh.
Kill me at 80,
Seriously.
right?
Yeah.
If I can live to 90 and I'm still on the pickleball court, or I'm still able to do the things I like to do and get my own groceries and interact with my grandkids and whatever, then I want to live to 90.
Mhm.
And so that's exactly what we try to do. We really see you as a whole person. And so whether you come to us because you're perimenopausal, or you come to us because you have cancer, right? And you are doing all the cancer therapies, but I'm going to help adjunct alongside those and make your body work the best it can. Remember, the body was made perfectly. It becomes imperfect because of stress and toxins in our environment and genetics, right? But it was made perfectly. So I really focus on trying to restore that optimization the best we can. That's different for everybody, right? We optimize you the best we can, and then we shoot precision guided missiles where needed to the other stuff, right? Whatever else it is for you. And again, for you, that would be different than it is for me than someone else. But we see you as a whole person, and we see you as an individual. And, when we don't just throw medicine at you, oh, you have high blood pressure. Okay, take this. No, I'm like, hey, how's your liver working? Right? Like, is it working correctly? Is it not working correctly? Okay, let's try this. Can we do this lifestyle? You may look at me in the face, and I have clients do this all the time and be like, I'm not doing that. I had a client say, "Give me my blood pressure medicine because I'm not exercising. I'm not doing it." And you know what? Even though I want him to do it, it's okay. That's where he is, right? And I'm going to provide him medical care. I'm always up his butt about what he should be doing, right? Or I'm trying to find a way that I can start incorporating it that it's tolerable for him. Right? Because I want you to have the best life possible. But what I vision that is different than what you do. So I have to work within the realms and the confines of like who you are. And I really try to pride myself on being that way and being different because that's not the system that we live in. It's not even the system as a doctor myself that I get to have. I went into my PCP. This sounds terrible, but I timed her. And I said, let's see how this goes, and it was awful. And I'm a doctor. Like, again, that shouldn't matter. But like, if this is how I'm being treated, like, how is everyone else being treated?
I mean, holy cow. And I think even your like experience where you have to advocate for yourself or for the people that you're helping with at all times and every step of the way. I mean, for somebody like me who, and this is not a lie, I see blood and like the world goes dark and I could potentially be on the floor. Like that actually happens to me. So for me, like I do everything I can to avoid those conversations. I can't imagine then going into a space, and not advocating for yourself or not having that like true partnership in a provider. So, the advocacy, and even as you're telling your story about, your cortisol being so high and like all of these things as you're like going through there, how are you coming to those conclusions, or how are you um you yourself are advocating for yourself, but how are you kind of empowering the people around you to advocate for themselves too, for where we are right now in the health system?
Yeah, and that's it. I'm trying to advocate where I feel like it's most impactful because not everybody can be my patient, right?
Right.
Number one, I can't treat everybody, and not everybody can be my patient. So for me, the biggest thing is education. The
Mhm.
biggest thing is empowering everyone to understand what they actually are in charge of, and then also guiding them with like what you should be asking or what you should know. So there's a great example you brought it up of like me not being able to get pregnant and my cortisol. Do you think ever once anybody said anything to me about mitochondrial
Mhm.
repair or trying to decrease
Mhm.
stress or remember physical stress equals oxidative stress in the body. Like nobody ever talked to me about that. They just pump me full of medication, right? And like, oh, try to get pregnant this time and make my hormones go up and down, which we need, but nobody ever taught me, and I was a doctor for crying out loud. Nobody ever said, "Oh, we need to look at this." And this is the same thing that's true that we see with everybody. It's the same thing with men and women, but a lot with women.
Yeah.
If women are dealing with infertility, does somebody look at this from a whole perspective and say, okay, like what is your magnesium, right? Like, are you deficient? Magnesium is responsible for 300 enzymatic reactions in your body and some pretty powerful ones, right? Are you eating enough protein? No, it's not that. It's this. Okay, here, take this med, do this procedure, do that, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like how I'm trying to do that and get the biggest bang for the buck is twofold. One, educate patients, educate women, educate patients as a whole to say, this is what you should ask. This is what you deserve. These are supplements everyone should take. These are things some people should if you fall into this category, right? These are everybody should be sleeping. Basic stuff that no one told me. And then I'm also doing something that I am extraordinarily happy about, which is educating residents. So I can be forward facing and affect my patients, but that is such a small number of people, right, in the world. But now by training residents and coming into my office and them having to treat patients this way and showing them that there is a different way or there's a way that goes aligns with what we're already doing, I get to impact them and then they get to go impact that many more doctors and that many more patients. And that number just grows, right, over the years. Think about that. If I get 13 new residents a year, like the impact that I can have, even if they don't practice integratively, talking to them a bit about women's health, talking to them about all these things, basic health optimization, longevity. Before you put your patient on an NSAID or before you put your patient on a statin or a blood pressure medicine, what to have this conversation. Make sure their vitamins and minerals are optimized. Make sure their system is functioning properly, right? We see people on 5, 6, 7 different medications, and no one ever has looked to see if the cytochrome P450 system in the liver is operating appropriately, because that system needs glutathione. So sometimes giving them back glutathione, making that system that processes the medications process effectively, you can get rid of some of the medications based on just the fact that you're optimizing the actual body system. So twofold, I get to teach and educate patients and have those experiences with mine, and I get to teach and educate other doctors. And the last thing that just started is that we are now starting to do research. So I'm part of a longevity doctors group, and we really want to do a lot of cutting edge science and research on longevity strategies, how we can get you to live longer, healthier, but put the scientific data behind it. And we're actually starting a first study coming out of Mount Sinai, and I'm a part of that group. I'm happy to say that we're starting tomorrow. So it is actually
Crazy.
fantastic. So I know I'm hoping with research and being able to teach and train residents and being able to impact my patients and educate people from social media. You don't have to be my patient to be educated, and empowering women and people in general to start taking back control of their own health and understanding the broken system that we are in and how to navigate that, right? That's important. I really truly hope to make an
Oh
impact.
my gosh. Well, okay, I'm going to tell you right now, you already are, and you already have been. So, like, thank you so much for the work already that you're doing. Taking back, like, your health and the education, the stuff that I see you put out into the world, Dr. Sarah, is so beautiful. One, I am creepily liking everything and commenting because it's so good. And two, I just think that you get to see the inside of a system, and even like some of the stories that you just shared on this call, a woman telling you can't be pregnant, hustling through like all of the things postpartum and whatever. When you think about what would be, and you're creating this in your practice, but when you think about what would be like the fix to the system, or like what you would dream and hope to have happen, what would that be?
So, it's kind of twofold. The fix to the system really would be that it's not insurance company driven, because that's where the problem comes in, right? Again, it's always about you need to see more patients with less time and less resources. And so a fix to the system would be all doctors in their own private practices, with everyone having universal like access, right? But even not that, that's never going to happen for the most part, probably at least not in our lifetime. But it would be that we could slow down, right? We are not driven by private equity, right? Because that's what happens. These insurance companies come in, and why do doctors have to see you in 7 minutes? It's not by their choice. Trust me, they don't. None of my colleagues that work in this broken system love it. They hate it. They're burned out too. But guess what? Medicare reimburses $22 for a visit. Like, I don't know how anybody is supposed to sustain a practice on 22 I can't spend an hour with you if I get reimbursed
Right,
$22.
right,
You just can't. That's not a bit. I mean, social media people charge you thousands of dollars a month to manage your Instagram,
right.
right? Like, nobody can run a business like that.
No.
So, I would say that system is rebunked, but most importantly is time, right? And also, one of my patients actually said this to me this morning. She's like, "I'm gonna challenge you a little bit." And I said, "I want you to. I want you to challenge me. Long gone are the days where you go to the doctor and they just tell you what to do because they're the doctor. That's ridiculous. That's where the system from a doctor standpoint needs to change. We should be okay being challenged. I am okay being challenged. Do you know why? Because I know what I'm talking about.
Right,
Right?
right.
I am not insecure. I am secure. And if I don't know, I'm a doctor. I'm a human. I don't have to know everything. If I don't know, I'm going to say to you, you know what? That is
Mhm.
a really great point.
Yeah.
Let me go look at the literature.
Right.
Let me go find out. No, and I said to that patient today, "I welcome your challenge. I want you to challenge
Mhm.
me." I said, "Because tells me, number one, that you actually care about your health.
Yeah.
And number two, I can show you why or tell you, or we can learn together. And that's what I wish for the system. I wish for it to turn from such a transactional system where it's like, here's your McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
It's like, here's your med, to a much more relationship based system where it's you come and we talk about the things and I say, well, this, that, yeah. And you say, well, this, that, okay, I'll do this. Okay, I'll see you in a couple weeks. Let's see how you do. Right? Like this is trial and error. Let's do this. Okay, I know you're gonna eat those hamburgers all the time. So let's try this, right? That's what I wish for the system.
Okay, I love it. Um, Thank you for all the work that you're doing and making that happen. I think that's so important. And then I think for us, I mean, selfish question, but I'm asking for everyone is if we come and see you, and obviously it would be, you know, customized to our own personal needs. But is there some sort of like blanketed recommendation that you would have for maybe women who are entering their 40s or mid 40s or kind of in that zeitgeist of perimenopause to menopausal? And this could just be my algorithm, but I'm telling you, it is like pounded into my head of like, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing this, you should be doing this. What's your kind of philosophy on like a here are some
So
basics?
blanket statement on, let's just say, women's health 40, I would actually say 35
Love
plus,
that.
okay?
Okay.
There is a couple of things that I think are pretty general that I feel comfortable saying generality, and you're right, most of everything that I do is very precision guided because, again, what you need and what works for you doesn't necessarily work for your friend, but from a generality perspective, yeah. One thing is vaginal estrogen, okay? If you are 35 plus, you should be on vaginal estrogen. Okay? Let me just say that. That's it. It is also the female Viagra, okay? Nobody knows it. I don't know why it's the best kept secret on the market, but vaginal estrogen, honestly, not even from a sexual standpoint, but by the way, ladies, just to let you know, sexual health is so important. Stop not talking about it. We should be talking about sex all the time, okay? It is not this thing. I have so many people say, "Oh, well, we're just getting older." 40 is not old. Neither is 45, neither is 50, and you should be having the best sex of your life and screaming it from the rooftops. And if you aren't, please come see me, okay? Because we will change that. But vaginal estrogen is one of those. It actually is extremely important for women's health span. And almost there's almost no contraindication for vaginal estrogen. A rare type of uterine sarcoma, but it's so rare, like barely anyone has it. So everybody could take it. We even have 25-year-olds on it, right? Breastfeeding moms just had a baby, they got nothing. We give them some vaginal estrogen while they're breastfeeding. Great. So vaginal estrogen for everybody. Basic supplementation also for women, which again, these things can be tailored to you because sometimes you need more of one thing than another, despite what your labs say. But basic supplementation, everybody should be on magnesium. It's responsible for 300 plus enzymatic reactions in the female body. You need it. Everybody should be on omega-3 with CoQ10. Everybody should, and that's also for mitochondrial health for sure. Everybody should try to be sleeping 7+ hours. I know that's sometimes impossible, but it's really true. If you want things to truly impact your lifespan, um, optimizing sleep is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. And it's actually super duper easy. There's some super duper easy things you can do, and prioritizing yourself, whatever that looks like. We can, obviously working out and eat all those things, but self priority is so important because 35 plus, it is the biggest actually group of when people get prescribed antidepressants. It's actually 42 to 56-year-old women is the biggest, okay, biggest group of people in the world that get prescribed antidepressants. This is not a coincidence, ladies. Okay. This is when hormonal things start to go off. And also everything that we've been dealing with, we're the moms, they're the CEOs, we're carrying all the things, right? All together. Even if we're sharing that with a partner, we're still women, we're carrying all the things. And if you're lucky to be in a woman-woman relationship, then maybe you have a little bit of help there. But for the most part, sometimes not. All of those things are kind of going to come crashing down. So I would say to the women that are already there, those things: vaginal estrogen, basic supplementation, sleep hygiene, and you're getting yourself a self-care ritual, whatever that looks like for you. What I would say to the teenagers and to the 20-year-olds, and what the whole point of this is, and I think the point of your podcast too, is that we don't want our daughters to suffer,
Yeah.
right? Stop this nonsense. All the things we didn't know, all the things postpartum, not, infertility, all the midlife, all the things. Let's talk about them. Let's be about them. And for those girls, let's teach them what's coming, right? Like, this is what's happening. And these are the things that you can start doing now. So for those 25-year-olds, get a DEXA scan. Let's see what your bone density is now when you're in your prime. So when you're 35, I have something to compare it to, right? Start getting yourself in that routine, that self-care routine. It's never too early. Basic supplementation for them too. Even my teens are on it, right? These are just ways that we're supporting the body. The earlier we do this, the better it is for us. But if you're there in midlife right now, start today. Like, stop suffering in silence. Stop worrying. Just start today with simple things. And you don't need do you need ashwagandha and yam juice and all the things in the zeitgeist? Maybe, but maybe not, right? So just start with the basics, right? And honestly, the basics are so helpful. Getting your sleep in right and doing a self-care routine, having the ability to activate your parasympathetic nervous system during the day, you have no idea what that does for your longevity. And that's very easy. You can do a 4x4 breath 100 times a day. It doesn't cost anything, and it takes literally for a minute of your time, and you have just increased your longevity by taking yourself from fight or flight, which we know when you're there for so long that cause chronic stress, it causes weight gain, it causes visceral fat. You have the tools. You have the tools. You can do something that's that powerful by yourself at zero cost. You just have to do it.
I love it. I freaking love it. Okay, thank you. And on repeat and like highlight in lights, this is Dr. Sarah's Reco, and I'm so here for it. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so with the career, with your private practice, with everything that's going on right now, when you look back pre motherhood, is there any advice that you would give yourself or anything you wish you would have known?
Yeah, I think that I wish I would have had some idea of how difficult it could be, and to give myself grace at every step of the way. And also to talk about it, right? And maybe to find, I feel, and I'm sure many women do, but I feel like I was so isolated in a male dominant world at that time that I wish I had reached out or found a women's group or something where I could have been or surrounded myself with women and people that were in the same stage of life as me, or maybe in a little bit of a stage above, so you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. But there's something to be said about community, and that's what I would say. I wish, and I think everybody should surround themselves with community, and I really think that we can conquer everything with that. And that would have, there would have been a lot less lonely times, or isolating times, or times when I just felt like nobody around me got it, right? Like, nobody understood. I was surrounded by all these guys, or, all these women too that were just professionals, right? Like, attendings had kids, but the other residents didn't. And I wish I would have, like, found my tribe.
Okay, agreed. And I think that is like so powerful too to say. And this brings me to my next question is when you're out there in potentially male dominated, but in my experience and professional experience, there are a lot of women too that subscribe to this ideal as well, which is very challenging. And can almost sometimes be more challenging, right? Because you're like, I'm coming to you with hoping for some understanding, and it's definitely not even close to being there. What is your
And
advice?
more challenge.
Right? Okay, what and like shame on those people and like please we will never be those. But in your mind, do you have any advice or thoughts around um how to navigate a system like that.
Yeah, so it brings me back to, like, that dean of my college, the medical school
Yeah.
saying, like, "You can't be a good doctor and good mother."
Mhm.
What I would say is that these things can be very difficult to navigate, and it's hard to say one way, right? Because everyone's personality is different. So for me, I took it as a challenge, right? And when I'm challenged, I do well. But sometimes some people don't have that personality, right? They're like, "Oh my God, like what this is doing." Again, I'm gonna go back to community because I really think that if you have a strong community behind you, it doesn't really matter what happens or whatever your personality is, because you have that system to navigate it, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, my, dean just said this to me. And then you're gonna have 20 different women giving you opinions, and they all have different personalities, and you're able to take those and
Mhm.
really alter them for you, right?
Mhm.
Like, okay, yeah, that's what I do, or that's not me, but this is, or I kind of like that part. And that, I mean, why do groups like that work? Right? Like, why do these types of groups work? It's because you surround yourself with people that understand what you're going through. And it is harder to have a female boss, or in whatever realm you're in that doesn't get it, right? Or whatever, because I don't know, women are strong and, sometimes we eat our own, which is also unfortunate. But I would say that finding that tribe or finding that place where you can say the things you need to say, right? I think we suffer in silence too much, whether it's having babies, or whether it's in our teens, right? And PMS and PMDD, whether it's infertility, you hear this in every stage of womanhood. What do we hear? Constant themes we hear, right? Is that we're out here on this island, or I didn't know, or nobody told me, or there wasn't this thing. And I think that building a community that has all of that for all women, like imagine if we have this massive community that our daughters, I know you have boys, you're a boy mom, but your daughters can come to when they're, 13, 14, and understand what the heck is going on in their body, and that none of this is abnormal.
Right.
And my 14-year-old laugh all the time. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, my perimenopausal brain," and she's like, "My puberty brain," right? And we make this joke, and it's like, but it's true. Like, she's in puberty, I'm in perimenopause, like, great, right? And we make like a kind of like a candid joke about it, but she's able to see how life can be and the things and the struggles because I can show her. And I've also created a community and a tribe around me that's not afraid to talk about it. And that's what we need. We need to create that for everyone, right? It doesn't matter who you are. You come and you talk
Yeah.
and you say the things. And if your boss is, you're trying to make partner at a law firm and your boss is, the devil wears Prada. I think that was a marketing firm, but whatever. That she doesn't understand that you just had a baby and you're breastfeeding. Okay, well, come on, come talk to us about it because we do, right? And like we can help you try to navigate, whatever that is. And I think finding that tribe and normalizing what happens to us as women, making it part of the conversations and not being afraid to say it, not being afraid to be like, this is what happens postpartum, ladies. Okay. This is what happens when you're menopausal and your vagina dries up, okay? This is what happens, and this is what you do about it. But we gotta have those conversations.
Powerful stuff. Okay, mic drop. Tell me about how your role as mother and as in motherhood, this responsibility, how has it shaped what you do today?
It's kind of amazing. Like, again, I told you, like, I never was like, "Oh, I think I wanna be a mom." But now that I'm a mom of a teen and a 7-year-old, it's really interesting. Um, but I really love it. Like, what I see in my teenager, and the ability to shape, like, how she sees things and how she deals with things, and we worked really hard at this, trust me, it does not come easy, and I know at any turn in the road, she can hate me, and, I get it, I understand, but her and I have worked really hard at, um trying to be able to talk and have candid conversations, and then to see like my 7-year-old who is just like full of life and nothing can stop her, and
Ugh.
and she is the CEO, and then my 10-year-old who's kind of like so smart and great, and but he's just kind of like along for the ride, like, yeah, whatever you will do.
Mhm.
They literally are my whole life. Like, they are why I do all of the things that I do, but I think that the one thing that being a mom, at least to them, has done for me is shown me what my worth is, and shown me that I wanna create a life that they can be proud of, right? I want them to be proud of me, right? When they're saying, "What does your mom do?" or "Who's your mom?" I want my children to be proud of me and my accomplishments in life, and I'm trying to pave that road for them where, it's just acceptance and, love, right? And I don't think that I would have had the guts probably to do some of the things that I've done if it wasn't for them. And just thinking about who I want for them and the world I want for them. Not even their life is, but like the world that I want them to live in. And how can I preach that if I'm not willing to do uncomfortable things, and I'm not willing to take those steps, and I'm not willing to challenge the system? And I wanna make the world that much better for them, and I have to do that, and I don't think that if I wasn't a mom, I would have cared that much, honestly, right? But seeing them and seeing the world I want for them, and what the love and the care and the kindness I want for them really has driven me to take leaps that I probably wouldn't have taken if I wasn't a mom.
Yeah. You said something earlier that I just really loved, and I timestamped it because I was like, I'm gonna pull that out and like blast it everywhere. And I'd love for you to expand a little bit on it. And it's one of those things where it's like you think that motherhood could potentially be a setback, but it's not. It's more of like a propelling forward. It sounds like you're explaining that, but is there anything else you want to expand on that phrase in and of itself? Because it's so powerful.
So it does well, in the world we live in, it feels like at least in the professional world I live
Yep.
in. I can't speak for everyone else's world, but
Hmm.
it in all honesty, it is a setback. It's viewed as something. I mean, I even heard in the residency program after, like, "Oh, we shouldn't take we shouldn't take girls, because then they're gonna have babies and do this and this." And it really is viewed as a setback, or as women, we think like, "When should I get pregnant? I keep using the lawyer things, but I have friends, and like it's a big deal in like the
Yep.
partner thing, right? Like, "Oh, I want to be a partner." And the same thing in medical practices, like, "Oh, when should I have a baby?" Have a baby whenever you damn well want to have a
Right.
baby, you know? But again, we can't we in order to change the dynamic, we have to live it, and we have to breathe it, and we have to speak it, and we have to not do that to everyone else, right? And we have to normalize being a mom. Everybody's a mom. I mean, everybody in the world has a mom,
Yep.
right? You wouldn't be here without a mom. So, like, why is being a mom a professional setback? First off, I think it's a damn superpower, and, just experiencing it myself, like, if I can, breastfeed a baby, deal with my hormones, and still save your damn life, I'm a damn superhero, right?
Seriously.
Like, I don't know, there's not much else you can send my way. And so that's to be said. I think it should be viewed as like women are freaking superheroes.
Hmm.
Like, we do amazing things. Like, our bodies do amazing things, and then we do amazing things all the way through that. And again, the only people that can change the narrative is us. Right? Like, we're getting out there in the zeitgeist, right? We show like women are we have to demand this of our society. It's the only way we're gonna get it back and show everybody that I don't want in 5, 10 years from now, I don't want it to be looked at like, "Oh, is she gonna have a baby?" "Should we hire her as an intern?" Like,
Hmm.
who cares? 4 babies, like, geez, that just makes her even more powerful than she was with none, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of changing a narrative. That is like truly my goal on the podcast. And I think it's so great to have you on, Dr. Sarah, to show us the example of what it is.
The really most important thing to me as a mom, as a woman, as a business owner, as all of the things, is that I really want to stress the fact that you are never alone, even though you may feel like it, that you are never alone. And we really need to do a good job of making sure that women are heard and they're felt. And your podcast is doing that, right? You're giving light to this special time in our lives that really can be dark for some people. It really can. It can be as many challenges as I had. It was, it was they were challenging, but there's some women that this is a very dark time for them. And I just want to be part of that movement and the generation who changes that, like who just it's not you don't have to go this alone, you never do. No matter what it is or no matter how low you feel or where you are, and talk about it, right? Because the more we talk about it and the more we put it out there in the zeitgeist, the more it becomes normal and natural. And that's just what we have to do because we're amazing. We're superheroes.
So good. So good. Okay, some quick rapid fire questions for you. If you could sum up motherhood in one word, what would it be and why?
Ooh, okay. Sum up motherhood in one word. Okay, I can't have two words. Can I have two
Go for it.
words?
Go for two.
Okay. I would say this, organized chaos. And I mean that because it is very chaotic, right? Like think about from pregnancy to delivering to every stage of the now that
Mhm.
I have a teenager and a 7-year-old, like there's
Whoa.
different stages of life happening in my house. But at the same time, it's like, well, I guess I take that back. Blissful chaos.
Ooh, love
Blissful
it.
chaos are my 2 words. Every step of the way really truly is a blessing. And I also think that if we try to look at it like that, although times are trying, right, and there's things that get in the way, the things that I see from my 14-year-old and, like, I'm seeing her and she's turning into a woman and, like, our talk conversations are obviously very different than my 7-year-old and very different than what I'm having with my son who's 10, but being able to change that up is so blissful and it's so chaotic, right? Things are crazy, um, but I love it. It's amazing.
I love it. Okay, so good and
Bliss
so beautiful.
blissful
Blissful
chaos.
chaos. Love it. Okay, what kind of parenting or motherhood myth that you've heard of that you wish would go away?
Oh my gosh, that's a good one. There's so freaking
I
many.
know.
Okay, I think one that I will say that I feel like, and maybe not,
Mhm.
but I feel like puts the most pressure on women is the breastfeeding myth.
Ooh, okay.
I think I really and as a physician, like, I can say this too from a physician standpoint, but I feel like that we put so much pressure on ourselves. It's like breastfeeding and natural, and you have to do it, and otherwise your baby and
Mhm.
all these things. And really the reality is that you don't, right? The reality is you do the best you can with what you have. Some women can do it, some women can't do it.
Mhm.
And loving our children and feeding our children, no matter what means possible, is the best thing for them, no matter how that is. So I wish that would go away because I feel like that just puts a lot of undue stress on women that aren't able to do it, right? And can't, and then that makes us feel less and like, oh, we couldn't do this and it's a disappointment when really it's not. It's just a reality. It's like some people can, some people can't. Breastfed babies and bottle fed babies are fine. They're both beautiful and smart and grow up to be very successful.
Oh, I love it. Great. Okay, and then where in your world are you totally crushing it?
Um, I think that I am totally crushing it in my personal world,
Mhm.
of being the first time in my life that I feel personally and professionally satisfied. I don't think I'm totally crushing it in my business world yet. Like I still have a long way to go, but in my personal world of me being personally satisfied with who I am, what I'm doing, my mission in life, I don't think I've ever felt this satisfied. So I feel like I definitely am crushing where I know I'm supposed to be and what my mission in life is. And now I just have to keep doing it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Well, seriously, you can tell. I mean, your passion is just contagious. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing your story. I mean, this is going to touch so many people. And I mean, literally, just being in your essence is like giving me life, Dr. Sarah. So thank you so much.
I thank you for having me, and I also thank you for doing what you do because you are, you found a spot that where women are really vulnerable, and you chose to bring light to their stories. And I really appreciate that. I know before we talked about women don't have a place for their stories. And so what you're doing is so powerful and so important. So actually, the thank you goes to you for all you do.
Thanks, girl. I mean, yeah, we got to just like keep doing it, popping it into the zeitgeist, controlling our
Yeah,
algorithm and narrative. We've got this, and starting here. You're hearing
I
it
got it.
from Dr. Sarah and me today. So there you go.
Thanks for listening to It's a Circus. If today's episode made you feel a little less alone, share it with a friend who might need it too. We are building something amazing at the Turner Brothers Circus, an entire space designed for parents to find connection, laughter, and support. I'd love for you to be a part of it. Remember, you're doing better than you think. Stay grounded, stay real, and embrace that beautiful mess. And as always, the show must go on. Until next time.